Okay, this one will be probably pretty short and pretty quick. Just 3 more options for cooking during a power outage with winter coming on. I thought I'd give some options that are pretty easy and inexpensive to get into. It doesn't take much of a commitment or investment to have some options to be able to cook when your power goes out. These 3 are ones that honestly I don't use anymore. I just never have gotten rid of them. I've moved on to easier long-term solutions. That just happens over the years. So we'll get these knocked out and discussed pretty quick, but they do give some pretty good options, really, without a lot of money involved, without a lot of time invested into them, and they all store pretty well for years, so they're pretty much zero maintenance for a really long time. So I'll try to keep it short, and here we go. Okay, this is one of those that we're not going to spend a lot of time on. It's pretty simple, that everybody's probably familiar with, but just something to keep in mind as an option. It's pretty inexpensive, uses readily available 1-pound propane tanks that you can store forever. If you're not familiar with how it works, read the instructions. If you're not capable of following the instructions, you probably shouldn't have a book of matches. So this one does not have an automatic striker. You turn the gas on and light it. You put your pot on there and cook on it just like it was a regular kitchen stove. That's pretty handy. Again, just for something you don't plan on using much. You can adjust the flame up or down however you want. And those canisters store for years. This particular canister is 7 or 8 years old. I mostly use those canisters for the torch when I'm soldering or something, just because they stand up better than the tall, skinny canisters that a lot of folks use with the torches. But they store forever. They're not expensive to buy, the canisters or the stove, and they're a decent option. So we'll move on to the next one. This is a butane cooker. I debated even mentioning this one. I don't believe they're made anymore. I don't believe the fuel canisters are even made anymore. It uses butane instead of propane. I bought these on clearance years ago. The downside to them is the way it punctures the can. Hey girl, the cat's here. Once you puncture the can, you can't remove it from the stove. It punctures kind of like a CO2 canister on a BB gun. You okay? I'm in your space, seriously? You'll get over it. But it was such a deal, I couldn't pass it up. And I didn't have the more modern ones. It has fold-out pot supports, and it's the simplest thing in the world. Once the can is in there, you just light it. It is a little adjustable. But as with a lot of these, you don't want to use it indoors. Main thing I don't like about this style, and there's more modern versions that have the same problem in my opinion, it makes it a little top heavy. You put a pan on here, you got a pretty high center of gravity, and if you're cooking in an improvised situation, you have to be real careful of that. You have to have it on something good, sturdy, stable, and level. So just something to consider. Again, we'll just leave that as is and move on to the next one. Now here's one that's worth a little more time looking at and thinking about. Safe Heat, Sterno, chafing dish fuel. There's numerous brands. This, I believe, is from Sam's. And with this, as with a lot of them, again, you have to be careful of using it indoors. This particular brand is safe indoors. Some of them are not. So just be careful of that. As far as using them, it's a liquid fuel with a wick built in. And you can just light it, and it's basically a liquid candle. There's numerous stove options, cooking options. Some are as simple as this. I don't remember even what brand this is. Literally just stick them on top there. Oop. And light it. It's hard to see that flame, but he is going. And it's really that simple. And those will burn for hours. They claim 6 hours. I don't know if you'll get that completely, but it's quite a bit. And if you buy a dozen or two of them at Sam's, that's a lot of hours of cooking. So there are other stove options. Let me put this out and I'll show you a better stove option. Put it out, you just put the cap back on. You can blow it out, but it will smoke. Sorry. You can blow it out, but it will smoke. So just put the cap on it. That'll smother it. My preferred stove option is actually made by Sterno brand, who makes their own chafing dish fuel. It folds down very compact. Set the guy inside there. Close it up, and that really protects it well from the wind. It's surprisingly stout for being such thin metal. And again, just light it. And this gives you a much bigger, frankly, more stable cooking grate to cook on. And there you go. And he is pretty stable. And that's important when you're improvising, because you may not be in the most comfortable or convenient of positions. So that's really probably all I'll cover in this one. This will be a little short video. There are a lot of other options you can consider. If you have a charcoal grill, have a few extra bags of charcoal, stick them in a plastic bag so they don't get full of moisture, and they'll last a surprising amount of time. If you have a propane grill, get some extra propane tanks for it, and just don't use them. Always keep them full. If you have a propane griddle, that's my preferred way to grill, because you can do everything you can do on a grill, plus you can do things that you can't do on a grill. Things like eggs, hash browns, whatever, bacon. I love our Blackstone grill. We just keep extra propane tanks for it, and frankly, in the last couple of years, that's all we have used. We don't use any of these old ones anymore, but just never have gotten rid of them. So, also, if you have a turkey fryer, keep that in mind. Keep a couple extra propane tanks for it. It's not real efficient, it's pretty wasteful, but it's something you can use if need be. The next video will be all about the rocket stove, I believe. That's my vastly preferred second option after the propane griddle. So let's wrap this one up, and I'll try to get the rocket stove one out in the next little bit. We have a lot of things going on, so I may or may not get it done for a little while, but that one's going to take some time because it has a couple of different fuel types, and I want to show them both just to give some ideas that people may not think about. So anyway, appreciate it, and we'll catch you on the next one.